Chronology and causes why Russia attacked Ukraine. Russia has finally really attacked Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin officially announced the military operation Thursday, the 24th of February 2022.
Make me insane. Turn off all the lights.
The Russian offensive then began with explosions in a number of Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv, Odessa, Kharkiv and Mariupol. To this day, the tension is still ongoing.
She loves me when I look.
Chronology.
Girl, you need to let me rest. I'm sorry if I made.
In the past, Ukraine had a meeting with Russia. But the current Ukrainian leader is closer to the West and wants to be part of NATO.
If I'm still obsessed with you.
Whereas when the Cold War occurred, before 1990, the Ukrainians and Russians united in a federation called the Soviet Union, a strong communist state at that time.
Be okay if I go.
The Soviet Union, after Germany lost and World War II ended, had influence in Eastern Europe. No wonder the countries in Eastern Europe have also become communist countries.
She loves me when
In 1991, the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact dissolved. In the same year, Ukraine voted for independence from the Soviet Union in a referendum.
obsessed with you. Sorry.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin that year agreed to this. Subsequently, Russia, Ukraine and Belarus formed the Commonwealth of Independent States (CIS). But there was a split. Ukraine considers that the CIS is Russia's attempt to control the countries under the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union.
It goes straight to my brain.
In May 1997, Russia and Ukraine signed a friendship treaty. It is an attempt to resolve disagreements.
Turn off all the lights. Got a whole lot going for you. How do I explain?
Russia is allowed to retain majority ownership of ships in Ukraine's Crimea-based Black Sea Fleet. Russia also has to pay Ukraine a rental fee for using the port of Sevastopol.
To let me rest. I'm sorry if I made a mess. I'm sorry if I'm still obsessed with.
Relations between Russia and Ukraine have been heating up again since 2014. At that time there was a revolution against Russian supremacy. The anti-government mob succeeded in overthrowing the pro-Russian former president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. Riots even broke out before making peace in 2015 with the Minsk deal. The revolution also opened up Ukraine's desire to join the European Union (EU) and NATO. This, citing Al Jazeera, infuriated Putin at the prospect of establishing a NATO base next to his border.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.
This is also supported by the increasingly close relations of a number of Eastern European countries with NATO. Call it Poland and the Balkan countries. When Yanukovych fell, Russia used the power vacuum to annex Crimea in 2014. Russia also supported the separatists in eastern Ukraine, namely Donetsk and Luhansk, against the Ukrainian government.
Straight to my brain. I don't wanna lie, 'cause you
Hot start since late 2021.
turn off all the lights, gotta hold that.
The issue of attacks has been rolling since November 2021. A satellite image shows a new buildup of Russian troops on the border with Ukraine.
She loves me when I look my best, but girl, you need to let me rest.
Moscow is believed by the West to be mobilizing 100,000 troops along with tanks and other military hardware. Western intelligence says Russia will attack Ukraine.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.
In December, world leaders such as US President Joe Biden warned Russia of Western economic sanctions if it attacked Ukraine due to reports of increasingly intense military problems at the border. A number of European leaders such as French President Emmanuel Macron and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also came down the mountain to initiate negotiations between the two. On the other hand, Russia has also started conducting large-scale military exercises since early January 2022. All navies are deployed. This exercise is also carried out on land. Russia cooperates with Belarus, its close neighbor and ally.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed.
Anxious Russia to NATO. Russia denied it would attack at the time. However, Putin's country makes detailed security demands of the West. One of his points asked NATO to stop all military activities in Eastern Europe and Ukraine. Russia asked the alliance never to accept Ukraine or other ex-Soviet countries as members.
Wanna lie, 'cause you make me insane.
In an exclusive interview with CNBC Indonesia on February 16, Russia's ambassador to Indonesia, Lyudmila Georgievna Vorobieva, said Russia had never intended to attack its neighbor. He said this issue arose after the US, NATO and their allies blew it.
And I look my best, but girl, you need to let me rest. I'm sorry if
All the hysteria that occurred between Russia and Ukraine has been targeted to divert issues from our country's security regarding the Russian Federation. We see the expansion of NATO, which has been going on for more than 30 years, and now NATO infrastructure is getting closer to our borders, he explained in the interview at the time.
I know you'll be okay.
In this situation, Ukraine is only used as a tool to spread war information against Russia. While our country is pursuing diplomacy, the West continues to spread war information and create tension on the Russia-Ukraine border.
She loves me when I look my best.
Actually, nothing happened and we have no intention of declaring war on Ukraine. Please don't get me wrong. We actually think of Ukraine as our brother, he said.
Sorry if I'm
Fighting Ukraine is a nonsensical idea for us, He explained that NATO had carried out 5 phases of expansion, from 1999 to 2020. Putin, who didn't keep his promise. On February 15, Putin made it clear he would withdraw all troops from the border. He said this during a press conference with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Moscow, Russia.
Turn off all the lights, got a whole lot going for you.
Putin said Russia did not want war. According to him, Russia is ready to find a solution with the West.
She loves me when I look my best, but girl, you need to let me rest.
We are ready to cooperate further. We are ready to enter the negotiation path, Putin said, as reported by AFP at the time.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.
Even so, Western countries doubt this. Even NATO intelligence in Eastern Europe says Russia may still attack, albeit limitedly, using rebel territory in eastern Ukraine.
If I go, if I leave you here today.
Last Monday, Putin suddenly declared Donetsk DPR and Luhansk LRP, 2 regions counter to the Ukrainian government, as independent states. Under the pretext of keeping the peace, Putin signed a decree sending troops to Ukraine.
My best, but girl, you need to let me rest. I'm sorry.
Thursday, the 24th of February 2022, Putin's statement in front of Olaf was not realized. The attack was right.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.
Putin announced a military operation in Ukraine to defend separatists in the east of the country. Explosions occurred in a number of cities in Ukraine, including Kyiv. The circumstances require us to take decisive and immediate action, Putin said, in a televised address, according to an RIA Novosti transcript.
Go straight to my brain. I don't wanna lie, 'cause you
Donbass, the territory of pro-Russian militias in eastern Ukraine, asks Russia for assistance. In this case, in accordance with Article 51, Section 7 of the UN Charter, with the sanctions of the Federation Council and in accordance with the friendly agreement ratified by the Federal Deliberation and Mutual Assistance with the DPR and LPR, I decided to carry out a special military operation, he added.
rest. I'm sorry if I made a mess. I'm sorry if I'm still.
The West condemns Putin's actions. A number of countries reacted.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.
Russia started its attack on Ukraine today. Putin started a war against Ukraine, against the whole world democracy. He wants to destroy my country, our country, everything we have built, everything we live in, Ukrainian President Zelensky said.
If I leave you here today.
Why attack Ukraine? Experts believe Putin did this for the purpose of forcing change in Ukraine. Russia wants Ukraine's leadership to be changed to pro-Moscow.
Let me rest. I'm sorry if I made a mess.
Based on Putin's speech, Russia launched a major offensive across Ukraine and aimed to overthrow the Kyiv government through military means, Henry Rome, director of global macro research at Eurasia Group, was quoted as saying by CNBC International. Although Putin claims otherwise, this possibility would include the occupation of some territories by Russian forces. Quoted from CNN International, in a long essay published by Putin in July 2021, he briefly called Russia and Ukraine one person. The West has corrupted Ukraine and pulled it out of Russia's orbit through forced identity change, the media wrote, describing Putin's writing. In a media meeting attended by CNBC Indonesia last week, a senior official at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta said Russia's blatant violation of international law poses a direct challenge to the international rules-based order. Ukraine itself is a member of the United Nations, which means an independent and sovereign state.
Sorry if I'm still obsessed.
If Russia is allowed to limit Ukraine's sovereignty by dictating Ukraine's alliances and foreign policy choices, by blackmailing it and violating its territorial integrity, it could embolden others wishing to expand illegal territorial claims, including in the South China Sea SCS, he said. Damaging the principles of the international rules-based order weakens the foundations of international cooperation, and Russia's violations threaten peace and stability on the European continent.
Loves me when I look my best, but girl, you need to let me rest. I'm sorry if I made a mess. I'm sorry if I'm still obsessed with you. I'm sorry if I'm still obsessed with you.